And now we will continue talking about technology, innovation, digitization, specifically about the progresses in the Chilean mining. In the case of Cochilco, let's talk with and we have online Jorge Cantallopts, Studies Director and Public Policies of Cochilco. Thank you for being with us, Jorge. Thank you. Good morning. Jorge, let's see what's happening. What are the trends that you see in the process of digitization in the mining industry here in Chile? It's important to highlight that the digitization process in the mining industry started some years before pandemic. And I remember the year 2014 when we do the first roadmap of mining, 2014-15, we have the issue of the digitization as something relevant for the industry. Obviously, with the arriving of pandemic, this was accelerated, and what we can say that there was a trend that was more strategic, more analytic trend, and that competed a little bit with the operational issues that they always want to optimize the production. Therefore, from the pandemic, where there is an obligation from the mining industry to keep the operational continuity, to maintain, to ensure the health of the workers, there was an acceleration there in the digitization systems and remote activities. Sometimes they go together, but sometimes there are different things. I would say that the acceleration, what was remote monitoring and remote operation, increased a lot with the pandemic. And today we can say that in general terms in the industry, it is operating 70-80% of workers in situ versus what it happened pre-pandemic. Now it's a trend that it will stay on time. It's not just limited for our response to pandemic. No, I would say the pandemic accelerates all this. It's a trend that was coming before, and maybe because of a series of circumstances, optimization, technological development, maybe the mining industry has not been the one that had developed this, but specifically in Chile, it is an early incorporator of technologies in general, the mining industry in Chile. So these technologies that were being developed in the rest of the world in the mining industry, today they are incorporating it slowly, but with the pandemic they arrive faster and they are going to stay here because of an issue of safety, because of an improvement of the usage of the equipment, efficiency, and also there's an issue of the quality of life of the worker, and that is very relevant. Of course, there are important reasons to continue, but it's always good, Jorge. We have talked in this edition of the event. It's good to do a comparison in relation to other countries. How is Chile in comparison to other mining companies were referenced? I would say we are okay. It's difficult to establish a benchmark. It's difficult to say Chile is better than other because not all the countries do digitization countries and not all the industries do digitization studies. So we have to keep the perceptions and we have contact with the most developed countries when you think about mining issues, Australia, Canada, and the feeling is that Chile has progressed very well in some areas faster in some digitization processes. The remote operation centers that Chile has, there are countries like Sweden, they have been doing for more than 10 years, but in general, in the mining massive industry globally, I would say that Chile is very well located. We don't have a ranking, we don't have statistics, so to compare, but the perception that we have when you compare with the rest of the countries, at Chile and some places, maybe the remote operation centers that Chile has developed in the last years, I would say, are the best at a world level. And for some specific reason, Jorge, Chile has an ecosystem that maybe favors it because of something local. What factors are impacting in this early adoption, as you said? I think that many things, as you said, very developed mining ecosystem, mining with a develop of suppliers that is very developed, one of the most developed of the world. And we don't mention that much, but the mining system and the system of development of suppliers of Chile is one of the most developed in the world. On the other hand, we have the features that they are deposits. And it's not a global condition that they have operations in remote places, places where maybe the urban development has grown, but not at the same time as industry. And there is a challenge of public policies more than the industry. So there is a complexity to take the workers to the operation. It's not something trivial. It's not easy. So in Chile specifically, we have that is important to try to reduce the amount of workers that are inside. And that is a challenge of the industry. It increased with the COVID issue, but it's an own condition of our country. Jorge, let's stop in one of the issues that you said as relevant factors to progress in this process of digitization. It's related with the cost structure. What effects do you think this process of digitization has in the cost mining structure in our country specifically? I think that directly is not of a first instance objective, the cost reduction. It is an objective in improving the labor conditions, the labor safety, and to improve productivity. At the end, it has an impact on the cost, but the increase of remote working to improve safety, of course, it will reduce the cost. Today, the mining industry has to have additional costs for the in situ work, and on the other hand, the improvement on productivity related to the incorporation of the equipment and technology of processes with digitization, sensors, that we can anticipate maintenance, anticipate failures. All that has been developed a lot, and that reduces the maintenance cost. And there are estimations that mainly there's a 20% of the increase of the profits of the mining industry that should come from the digitization activities. It's a very, let's say, this industry operates at the maximum. So to have a space to reduce the cost, to improve the profits is very important. So maybe it could be 20%.
And that is a lot, Jorge. Yes, it is. It's an industry that plans its operations, design, the plant size, and what they're looking for is to maximize value creation is in other areas. So through digitalization, so as to optimize the mining processes and recover or capture, it's beneficial and it gives us a great opportunity. Jorge, let's talk about another area. What we have talked about in the edition this year of the event, and that is mainly sustainability. The issue of sustainability, the issue of water is relevant to be more efficient in the use of power, of energy. What would the challenges be with the adoption of digital tools in the industry? Well, this adds up to two trends. One is power, but the use of power in the mining industry, and the use of seawater in the mining industry. These are sources, power sources, and water that are key for the mining industry. And there is a challenge. There is a challenge. When you talk to the industry, you raise information from the industry, and you see optimization of water and energy. The use of power is key in how to improve the efficiency in the use of power with digitalization processes. However, in the case of water, we believe and we know from good experiences that there is a lot to improve on the sensors, measurements of water. I think there is an issue there. And the mining industry and what we talked about in that area, we set forth goals that from now till 2040, the mining industry will be carbon neutral. This might arrive before that date, but we have a great challenge, the new sources of energy, as well as the optimization of the use of energy. We have another issue, which is water. And the goal is to reach 2040 with less than 5% of use of water, continental waters. So the digitalization is the management of the resources, is focused on management. Yes, of course. And the use, more optimized use. Jorge, now regarding the CO2 emissions, which is another challenge that is relevant and that we have talked about, what aspects or what issues can give us to reach those goals, to achieve those goals at the long run? As I was saying, be able to reduce the emissions, the mining industry in 2040, and I think it will arrive before. But it is an issue. It is an issue. I guess the main challenge there, it is a technology challenge, and that will add up. It will add up. Has to do with the reduction of fossil fuel use. Mining industry, the main challenge it has in the reduction of the footprint is direct use of diesel and fossil fuels in the extraction process. And that is where we have the main challenge. The use of power for metallurgic work will be reduced as clean energy sources will increase. So, and that will arrive before the 2030, but the extraction process is key on the trucks, on the shovels, and that is where we will have a key point on where to use that. A new fuel could be hydrogen, and it might need of a monitoring process for the equipment, and that is totally different to the monitoring systems that we have today. Thank you so much, Jorge, for participating with us in our Siemens Digital Week this year. Thank you so much. Great success in your meeting.